on, it's Miss Havisham again in Sheffield. So I'm outside Sheffield Town Hall, as you can see. Now this is definitely in the mud. I'm just going to cross over the road to give you a look at the windows down below the street level. Now this was supposedly completed in 1896, and these balustrades were added later on, around 1923. I always thought this was a strange design, to have these balustrades with this slope. It didn't seem to look right, and now I believe this is because it was in the mud, and this building was there before, we're told, or something happened. That's where it goes down, all along. And then on the end we have the underground public toilets. These are the public toilets that were open back in the day, now they're closed. Very ornate entrance to toilet, you'd agree. And next door, just going around, for some reason people don't need public toilets anymore. Still very strange. Now, next door to the town hall, we have the peace gardens. Now, this area is on the site of St Paul's Church, which was a very grand building and was completed, well, the first stone was laid 1720, and for 20 years this church was left unused. It was just left locked up, unused for 20 years, due to an argument between the minister, a minister of Sheffield that had one of the religious leaders, had agreed to pay £1,000 every year for its upkeep, and he thought he should have the right to choose the minister. The Bishop of Sheffield felt that he should have that choice, and so that's why the church was basically left unused and empty, locked up for 20 years. Now, to me this sounds quite unbelievable and ridiculous. The people at that time, 1720, the Christian religion was not really being used at that time. It was pagan in this country, and this is what we have now, Christmas. We've actually got, you can see in the lights, it says Thor, which Thor is a pagan god, the pagan god of thunder and war, and that's what's on the tent there, on the marquee. It's quite picturesque now, but it's only been like this for about 10 years. Before that it was just all grass. Now, this church, St Paul's, there were many burials here. Once the church was actually opened, after 20 years, it was open, and then the burials began about they ended in 1858 actually. The burials ended in 1858. So they were only really burying people here for about 100 years, and it was only actually used as a place of worship for 200 years. So actually in the church itself there was a brass statue of Abraham and Isaac, on a plinth. Now this statue disappeared mysteriously later on. The church itself was demolished in 1938, so that was just before the start of World War II. Now this statue of Abraham and Isaac, when you think that Abraham was asked to sacrifice his son for God, and this is a blood sacrifice, and this is what was symbolised in this church. So in World War I, due to all the dead people, and actually this church was bombed in World War I, after that they decided to call the gardens, the peace gardens, to represent peace. But it was actually demolished in 1938. I believe that there's so many dead people still buried under here. There will have been hundreds, if not thousands, of people buried under here. Supposedly when the church was demolished, they moved remains to another cemetery in the suburbs, but they were all put into a mass grave with a cross on the top. Now I'm sure the people who were buried there, which were a lot of the dignitaries and wealthy people of Sheffield who were buried here, because this was passed on the outskirts at the time when it was first built, not in the centre like it is now. And that's what happened to the remains, which I believe that they weren't all taken to the other cemetery in the suburbs. I think a lot of them were left here and they're still underground here. So people were actually walking around here and sitting around and relaxing in the summer at lunchtime and things like that, and the fairgrounds that go on for children at Christmas and things like that. There's all dead bodies under this ground. That's what I believe. So, in fact, I don't believe it was ever a Christian place of worship. When they talk about worship, I always like to question, well, what were they worshipping actually? Now, I'm going to move along. There's something else I wanted to look at. I'm going to do another video actually on St Paul Church, because it is very interesting and I don't believe the narrative. Apparently in the 1800s, this ground here was classed as being very wet. Actually, the Peace Gardens area, it does actually go down. It goes downwards. So it's quite strange really. They must have dug out the foundations of where the church itself was to put it, just to grass it over. In the 60s and 70s, for example, it used to just grass over, it was just a lawn. But then they did all this, put all the cascades in. So I think there was lots of mud around this area. Now where I'm going to go, over here, you know, the fairgrounds now, wasn't like this when I was a child. There was nothing like this. Now it's just everything about get people to spend as much money as possible. I'll take the children in town and they all want to go on the ride, spend more money. So I'm going to just cross over the road again to go to another building which is, as I discovered, in Mosby Cove. This was the old Salvation Army building. It's very ornate and it's been empty for 20 years. So this building is a Grade 2 listed building now, but it has been empty for 20 years, and it's a Salvation Army Citadel. as we can see, the usual sun window and the castellated roof. Inside there, it is actually like laid out like a place to worship inside, with all the seats and the pews. What I noticed that there was a window. I only noticed this a couple of days ago. There's a window down here, the top of a window. Car headlights doing a bit more light. That's the top of the window. Got the bars on the windows. I mean, more than a place of refuge, it's more like a prison with these iron bars. It's more like a prison. They're not doing anything with it because they don't know what to do with it. If they try and make it into anything, it's going to destroy the interior. It was actually occupied in 2012 by the Occupy movement for homeless people. They actually occupied the building, but then since then it's just been empty. This is going back round to the side. Look at these windows. Now look at that window. Right down at the pavement. All iron bars. It goes right round like this. All boarded up. That's another, look at that, that's the pub next door. That is really what I would call an old world building. Cross over to give you a better view of this. This is actually a pub that I go in quite frequently. Or I did back in the day, more often. Now this, look at it. It's really old. And this back view of these shops, buildings. They're supposed to be Victorian, but I don't believe it. They were here before that. All red brick. Fancy roofs. That's an old hotel. The Athol Hotel. That window wasn't built like that. No way. It's built like a castle. Obviously those things on the top. Like little ventilation chimneys on the top. So, just those rooftops over there. So thank you for watching on New Year's Eve. So I wish everyone happy 2019, but in my view it's really 1019 or thereabouts. So thank you for watching everyone. Happy New Year 1019. Bye.